Start her up.
She started. Hey everyone, welcome back. We've got a fun little podcast for you. Tim gave us some homework, and by us I mean me.
Yes.
But it's not homework. It's not homework at all. It's a typical top five, top 10, top 20, top 100 games of all time type of thing. The only way to do this in a fun way is one of us starts, like we'll do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 type of thing,
Okay.
and then you do five, I do five, you do four, I do four, you do three, I do three, like that. That's the
Yeah. Okay. That's
Steven.
good. So you'll go first, and
Sure.
I'll give my first. And then, all right.
Yeah,
That
so
would be, that sounds
remember
like fun.
five, right?
Top five, and then at the end we could give or our memorable honors or honorable honors. I think it's called
Honorable
mentions. There we go.
mentions, exactly.
Yeah, that are extremely good games, but didn't quite get those toughs. Now remember, guys, this is all personal. It's, so
No,
meaning
no, no,
my
don't
top
listen to
five.
him. Not true at all. This is fact.
And we're gonna show our age here, guys, because some of our top five, probably some of our viewers might not even been born yet. So who knows?
I
Hey, what's the old?
guarantee it.
Maybe our viewers, I think they're older, or they're in their 30s and 40s, so maybe they'll know.
Well,
But any of
maybe.
you teenagers, nah.
I love it. Okay, so as always with these sorts of things, the list changes with
Oh, yes.
with like with the wind basically. But Tim asked me yesterday, so there we go. Okay, so or the other last week or whatever it was. So okay,
Yeah.
my number five. Let me just put because I'm so
Oh,
stupid.
you're starting with five. That's good. I
Yeah,
was going to
of
start
course.
with number one, but
no,
nah, five's,
no,
five's
no.
good.
We're gonna go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So
Right.
number five for me. And I always make a rule for myself, just so you know. I only put one per series. Okay, because if I don't, you do whatever you want. But for me, I always do that because otherwise it's going to be a bunch of Dragon Quest and Zelda games and stuff, and like that's kind of a boring list.
Zelda, yeah. Zelda's great.
Okay, so my number five is a Final Fantasy game, and it's not Final Fantasy VI. Everybody loves to pick Final Fantasy VI, but for me, at the time when it was released, Final Fantasy VII. I know it's the hyped one. I know blah
Yes, it
blah
is.
blah, but you had to have been there. Like that's the thing I tell everybody. I'm like, you had to have been there. It's in fact, it's right here. Ready for it? Wait.
Oh.
Wait. And where is it?
There it is. Oh, you can.
So
there
this
it is.
is
Yes, the OG
so
itself.
the OG itself. So Final Fantasy VII. If you weren't there, you just cannot possibly understand how this changed. So like before on the Super NES, as Stephen calls it, like, and even before that, like I've been playing role-playing games for years and years and years, and you always felt like this big loser, like hiding in your basement type of thing, like
Yeah,
you don't
exactly,
talk
yeah.
about it. But Final Fantasy VII was like, it changed the game in the sense that everybody was talking about it, everybody was playing it, and I think it was just, maybe it was a combination of my age. The PlayStation itself had really blown my mind. I was a huge Nintendo fanboy, even though I loved Sega. There was something, and you'll see in my top five, that like there's just something about Nintendo games that like really stuck with me, especially the Super Nintendo. Like in my mind, that is probably my favorite console of all time. Like really.
Yeah,
And
hands
so
down, it was great.
and so what Sony was able to do, I think a lot of it had to do with my age. The fact that it was like, wow, here's games now that are like literally mature, right? Like featuring like blood and like adult themes and stuff like that. And Final Fantasy to me was one of the best RPGs at that point in time, utilizing this new technology. The fact that I could share the experience, I think that has a lot to do with it. That I could share the experience with friends. I was never able to do that before, really. And this was the first time where it was like everyone was playing it, everyone was experiencing it, everyone was like, "Oh, did you try this materia mix up and stuff like this?" And it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
So for me, that's my number 5. What's your number 5?
Very, very good pick. Now, number 5 was very, very difficult for me because let me give it one of my honorable mentions right now, actually, because it was literally tied, but I went with a different one. We'll talk about number 5 in a second. Is Power Stone for the Sega Dreamcast. Do you remember that?
Yep.
That game blew me away, dude. It was so much fun at the time. You remember we were talking last podcast how the visual every gen back then, it was a huge increase in sound and quality and visuals. So you went from the Super NES era or N64 type visuals to the Dreamcast, which was literally, if I remember at the time, arcade perfect or extremely close, if not the same to their. I forgot what they called their hardware technology.
Naomi.
But anyways,
it was called
Naomi. There we go. So so it blew me away. It finally got me into importing. That's the first import I ever did. Oh, the dog's going crazy. The first import that I ever did, and it just literally blew me away. But it didn't get number 5, even though it's extremely close, and it took me a while to think of it. But I'll tell you what my number 5 is Tetris. I'm sorry, Dave, I loved Tetris. It got me into loving puzzle games. I think it was at the time one of the best, innovative puzzlers at the time, right? The puzzle games weren't really that well known.
Tetris, I think you could reshape that and say Tetris has become the most popular puzzle game ever. I just loved it at the time. It was just, I played on the NES. I got it on Game Boys. I do have actually Tetris. Was it Elements on the Game Pass? I just play that. Is it Elements or whatever the new modern version is? Yeah, and you could play it in VR. But I'm gonna definitely. I hear high ratings about that. I'm gonna check it. I'll let you know events when I do play it. But yeah, Tetris number 5 for me. And it no disrespect for Power Stone, it was extremely difficult. But Power Stone, I think today wouldn't be as good if they kept it at its core, because it didn't have online, it didn't have a lot of features. But Tetris, to this day, I could pick it up on my Game Boy, Nintendo DS, or Switch, and still love it like I did back then. Great game. You should have made this a top 10, because there were so many.
I was going to. And reason, too, I was going to talk after we're done, is I want us to also do our top 10 or top 5 for each kind of category, like let's say RPG, strategy,
that would
action.
Be cool.
That would be a lot of fun.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So I want to do the top 5, get it going, so people see how. Hopefully, people in your comments, put your favorites as well. But yeah, I think we'll do that next, and maybe not next podcast, or definitely maybe we'll do like more specialized or focused top 5. That then will make it even more challenging.
Okay, well,
Tetris, man, my number 5.
Number 4 for me. I wanted to, like you say, right? Like for me, honestly, there's games I don't even think about, right? Like for me, like Snatcher would be on my top 10. Probably like some weeks I would have Metal Gear Solid in my top 5 and stuff. But this particular week when we're going through it, I was like, no, I've got 3 Super Nintendo games in my top 3.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so there, I'm just giving that away. Diablo 2, I think, would also make this list. Warcraft would probably make this list. StarCraft would probably make this list. But this one was really unique. So because I set that rule of like, I don't want to pick more than one, I'm actually number 4 right now is a game I have been playing for 12 years now on and off, pretty much continuously, and that is Dragon Quest X. The fact that that game has, made me laugh, made me cry, had so much like impact on me. Like Cranberry always says, it's like a time capsule now, because we have like one of the longest running Let's Play series. I think we do have the longest in English
on YouTube, yeah.
But we have one of the longest period on YouTube. But more than that is the fact that like it really is the purest essence of what Dragon Quest really is. I could have put Dragon Quest 6, 8. I could have put 11. I loved 11. I thought it was fantastic. But 10, just because of all the memories that I've made, and it's just such a great game, and it's so sad that like so many folks never had the chance to play it. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if it, obviously if Square thought that Well, at this time, it's probably just too little, too late. But if they thought 10 was going to have a chance here in the market, they probably would have run it here. But MMOs are.
Yeah, I know.
There's been a lot of failures, dude. And
Yeah.
MMO market itself is really not doing that good. But with Dragon Quest, well, it is and it isn't. I mean, Final Fantasy Online's doing great. WoW's still doing good. But like, your newer stuff is they're having a hard time getting a good footing, and maybe the expectations. We that's an idea for an podcast in the future. But yeah, a good number. I figured it would be one of your top.
Oh yeah,
top five,
for sure.
Because
for sure.
I think Cranberry said that's her favorite Dragon Quest game ever too. So that's saying a lot, right?
So what's your number 4? I'm super curious.
Number 4.
Your list is going to be so interesting.
Yeah, my list is going to be probably a little bit different than yours. There's some similarities. Number 4, though, is I have to say it's a Super NES game. And it's not Mario. It's not Zelda. It's ActRaiser. Original, not 2. Even 2 was okay, but 1 was just so much better. I sank so many hours into that. And it back then, the god building phase where you built towns and like a city builder wasn't that common in the Super NES era. And I didn't really get into the PC gaming at the time either. It was a little bit before I got hooked. So PC gaming even, it was in its infancy for those type of games. So it had your action RPG elements with the side scrolling, which was awesome, highly addictive. And then what made that game so special for me was the city building part. And that's why I love city builders even now today. Of course, they're way more complex than ActRaiser ever was. But back then, dude, you would go into a level, they would ask, your followers would ask you, go, oh, please do this, this, this. You go into the level, it would use that, was it mode 7 at the time? Yeah, God, it was such a great game. Yeah, ActRaiser 1. I even was so tempted to buy the remake, but then I was like, it looks better, but it's just not gonna be the same experience over again. So that's why I try you. I'm not really a retro gamer because I probably would get some cool, oh wow, that was cool. I remember this. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool, but ActRaiser, it was great at its time. I love the game. No disrespect to it, but I don't think it would hold it. It wouldn't probably be as good now. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I should give it a try.
Well, you never know, man.
I love ActRaiser.
You never know.
Yeah, you're right. You never know.
All right. Well, number 3 for me is, you're so funny because you're like, no Marios and Zeldas and this and that. Well, get ready, because for me, when I think, whenever, like, Steven loves doing this to me too, where he's like, oh, like your top 5 this or top 10 that, and he's like, oh, who cares? Just say something. It doesn't matter. No one's gonna.
Hold you to it.
Steven.
That's true.
But for me, like, I have different criterias where I'm like, okay, like this is like, special. For me, my favorite Mario game of all time. It really, like, for a lot of people, Super Mario 3, and me too, like, Super Mario 3 was an incredible game. But
it was, yes.
Super Mario World, to me, is the ultimate Mario game. To me, personally, I have played that Mario more than any other Mario game. It's why, if I could reach, I can't reach it, but, like, my SNES Mini is, like, it's incredible to me. Like, that is probably one of the greatest inventions ever for like consoles, because I was old enough during the NES to really experience it, remember it all. I wasn't like a baby type of thing, but I was old enough that when the SNES came out, it just blew my mind. Same as the Genesis. Like, when the Genesis and SNES came out, because of my age, I was just like, it doesn't get any better than this, right? Like, this is it. Like, we've reached the pinnacle of gaming. If only I had known. So for me, number 3, Super Mario World, I have just so many memories, and not even memories of being a kid, like a teenager and a full adult playing that even now. Like, I can take my Steam Deck, and yes, I know it's emulation.
Naughty.
But there's just something about that, like sitting on the sofa and just going through it, getting all 96 stars, and like just so many memories. And yeah, so that's my number 3.
Yeah, my number 3 is not quite that, but actually Super Mario World, I got to give it a high price. It's one of the, we'll be talking about that's definitely one of my honorable ones as well, because I remember when I first got it for the Super, how I was blown away by the visuals, because you went from the NES to that. I was like, wow, it has that sound effects, the fire, all that. What's the synthesized sound, audio, or whatever at the time, but it was kind of new. Yeah, that's a great game. But my number 3 is a game that I think kind of pioneered what's so common now, it's not so special, is Knights of the Old Republic. By far was one of my favorite RPGs of all time. But you have to remember, now the whole dialogue window is so common, it's nothing special. So like kids today, you know, they're like, they say, oh, what, you think that's good? Man, who cares? So but at the time, it gave you choices and different possible outcomes. And I loved it. I played that game so much. I even think I did the light side and dark side playthroughs. I don't usually replay games that often, like Actraiser I have. Knights of the Republic I did, which is weird because I never really did play Knights of the Republic 2 for some reason. I should, because it's actually a really good game, I hear. I have to get to that. But anyways, Knights of the Republic 2, I thought set the standard for what I thought RPG should be. If I remember right, I really enjoyed. Plus, I love the Star Wars theme at the time. Sci-fi. It
was awesome. Favorite. That was an amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing game. I mean, obviously, if you play it today, you know, that's the thing is, you play it today as a new player, you might not be so.
Dude, the story still holds up, I think. Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I love the story, dude. I like the whole Maker's Mystery thing, and that was the time where BioWare was at its premium or its prime, and it has the mystery of this ancient civilization that was responsible for a lot of the lore or a lot of the stuff in the game. Is just amazing. And yeah, number 3 was hard because it actually had a competition by another BioWare game, is Star Wars: The Old Republic, which I'm telling you, number 3s are so close to it. The reason I went with Knights of the Old Republic was because I thought it set a standard and was innovative at the time, so that affected my decision. But Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars: The Old Republic they're neck to neck, dude. They're pretty much my number 3s. So there you go.
Nice. That's a classic. 2. No, man, like that's a real classic. Those were the days, man. That's when even Steven, like when it was on Xbox, or I think it launched on Xbox or whatever.
I think it did, right?
Yeah, I think so. He was like so into that. That was such a good game. That's a great game.
Great game.
And this is why lists like this, I've always like, they're whatever, right? To me, because like it really depends, you know, like on the mood. The next one is one that, again, like growing up again during the NES, you know, like period, playing games like Kid Icarus and Metroid and all of that, I was old enough to see the potential. And they were super fun and everything, but, you know, like Metroid in particular, so easy to get lost. You had to, like, I remember playing with, like, graph paper and, like, drawing and stuff.
Oh, really? Wow.
Well, yeah, because you're totally lost, man. There's no map. There's none of that. But I could see the potential. And I was, like, in my head, I was like, man, like, imagine what could be done if this was back in those days. I used to say, like, if this was in the arcades. Obviously it would never be in the arcades, but back then arcades were so much more powerful because they were dedicated hardware. So they were just like crazy powerful compared to what was available at home. And then when the Game Boy hit, a lot of these series made their way onto the Game Boy, and a lot of them were radically changed. Not all of them, like your like what is it, Link's Awakening, still to this day blows my mind that is playable on the original Game Boy. Like, I don't even know what kind of voodoo magic they did, because the NES, the original Legend of Zelda, feels more primitive than the Game Boy Zelda.
Wow.
And yet it isn't, you know, like it's wild. Anyways, so my number 2 is actually Super Metroid. And I was continuing in that vein because when Super Metroid hit, I had never seen anything like this before, ever. And to this day, I still consider that the greatest game ever made with minimal storytelling. I know there's been a couple. I can't remember. There's one that's about depression and you're like climbing.
Is it Fusion, the one? Oh yeah.
No. I'm talking about there was an indie release that
indie. I thought you meant
like that did really well. Like you're like climbing a mountain and it's like representing your depression, like the person's depression. Oh, I can't. Steven loved it. I can't think of what it was called, but that's another one that apparently is like really good. But the fact that Super Metroid is told with like 2 sentences of dialogue through its entirety it's a masterpiece in storytelling with environmental storytelling. There's no cutscenes and all of this. You basically have the intro, right? The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is in peace. And then you have the little intro that sums up Metroid 1 and Metroid 2. But that's it. That's literally it. Then it's like, okay, that's it until the very end of the game, until the credits roll. And it played with your emotions in such a way that one of my honorable mentions is actually another one, which I'll talk about after. But like the SNES was the first system where it had started, they started that playing on your emotions. Very few games did this, but Super Metroid, in my opinion, still remains one of the most powerful, like, it's just one of the most powerful storytelling devices ever, and they don't say a word, like it, and no dialogue.
Yeah, kind of
no
like one of Disney's best, Pixar's best WALL-E is like literally that movie virtually had no dialogue for most of it until the end, and it was able to convey emotions and tell a great story with virtually nothing. So yeah, interesting. Also, you have to remember Metroidvanias are extremely popular right now. And I know Nintendo made a 2D Metroid a few years back, but I kind of think, and I know they're trying to embrace the Prime stuff, but I kind of think that they should. I mean, nothing wrong with 3D, but I love 3D, but they should still make some 2D ones, because the 2.5D or 3D, if done right, especially that Wisp game, it's amazing visuals. So it's kind of like hand-drawn animations can been kind of forgotten in mainstream media as well, and I think they should still make it.
I agree. I agree. Okay, I'm dying here. What's your number 2?
For number 2, now number 2 was difficult too, and it took me a long time. I'll start with the honorable mention because they're pretty even now. I don't know if you remember this Phantasy Star Online for the Sega Dreamcast. If I remember right. Yes.
I remember? No, not at all.
Yes. I played that game so much. One of my good friends today, that's how we kind of bonded as friends, was we started playing that. And we played that for countless hours. Of course, it was, it's way ahead of its time, guys. Online gaming wasn't really a huge thing back then, but dude, it was so much fun. So much. Actually, they have a sequel out now, but I'm going to give it a chance to free to play, by the way. But it was so much fun. It was made me build a lifelong friendship out of there. I'm not with but my friend handles Zam. So yeah, Zam and I've been friends ever since. We met because he was his girlfriend and he liked gaming. I like gaming, so then that came out. We were, oh, cool, we don't have to go to each other's houses anymore to freaking play. So let's do it. And we fell in love with it. But that's not number 2. It's extremely close though. Diablo 2.
Yeah, okay.
Diablo 2. It just, the whole online thing. It was drastically a huge improvement compared to I guess maybe to Phantasy Star Online. It had just features that Phantasy Star Online didn't have, and I was hooked. Online gaming, co-op, all of it. Action RPG was so awesome, dude. I put so much hours into Diablo 2. I love the story, like the Archangel, how they portrayed him with these no-face, dark, because angels are usually these bright creatures, holier than thou. It was way different in Diablo universe. The Wanderer, which ended up being a dude that had put the stone into his head thinking he could contain Diablo. Dude, just such a great game. And it just got me hooked on online and basically PC gaming, because I went from consoles. That's when I transitioned from consoles to PCs for the most part. Yeah, that's why Diablo 2 1 is because of the translate. Well, it was a better game. 2, it translated my transfer, whatever you want to call it, to PC gaming. So that was a huge impact. That's why a lot of my picks are more the emotional or more of the transitional, whatever you want to call it, type thing. I don't know. I'm probably not saying it right, but you don't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it helped set up for future stuff.
Yep.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, Diablo 2, man, is my number 2.
Yeah,
Love
Diablo,
the game.
dude, Diablo 2 is a classic. Like that.
Yeah.
Again, next week you could ask me to do this all over again, and my number 1 will always be my number 1, but the rest they'll go all
Change.
over. Yeah, exactly. They go all over the place. So, what's my number 1? Come on, man. Don't let me down.
It has to be Fire Emblem. No.
Come on.
Sorry, Zelda. It has to be Zelda, dude. Zelda.
Exactly.
By far, it has to be a Zelda.
So, A Link to the Past is forever. That's my game. Like, that's my game. Every now and then, I will put the original. Not as often, because I don't like that Link can only move up, down, left, right. Like, he can't move in all 8 directions. That's the only reason. That's what holds that game back. But
I forgot about that.
The original Zelda is like there was nothing like it. Like, you'll notice in my list, it's all games that like transcended. Like there was nothing like them before, or that there was this huge leap where they perfected it. So I said Super Mario World. In my opinion, they perfected the Mario formula with that game. Super Metroid, they perfected the genre of exploration, backtracking, silent narrative. And with The Legend of Zelda, I've said this for so many years, I feel like they perfected the video game. Like, I don't know what it is with that damn game. And I still have it. Like, my original box I picked up at Toys R Us when it came out. Way back when you had to take a little, they had like little stickers, and you had to take the sticker and walk up.
I remember that. Oh wow, those were the days.
Yeah, those were the days, and I will just never forget. Like it to me, there's just nothing ever compared to that. I still play that game once a year, every single year. I will play through that game.
Interesting.
And I am so good at it now that I can go through it.
You memorized everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, Zelda's. I'm surprised it didn't get my top. It's definitely my top 10, guys. But Zelda's a great series. Love it too. I haven't really played the what's it called? The Breath of the. What's the new one? Breath of what? What's it called?
The new one is Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild.
Tears of the Wild. I haven't played either one of those yet. I have them, but I just haven't gotten around to them. But yeah, Zelda's great. I'm surprised you didn't say Ocarina of Time, because Ocarina of Time was such a great game too.
That Ocarina of Time is a 3D remake of A Link to the Past, and I don't know how Ahmed and I we agree with this like fully. Like, it's so obvious that they wanted to maintain the exact same sort of thing that they did with A Link to the Past, that they basically did the same thing. You have 2 different worlds, right? 2 different time zones that you jump back and forth. Like, they're so similar. It's a really, it is. Like, Ocarina of Time is fantastic, but A Link to the Past did it first. And because of that, agree. Like, that's the real, like, honestly, and I don't know what it is. It's the music, it's the art direction. It was just absolutely phenomenal. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, Ocarina of Time, are you kidding? Like, that's one of the best games ever made, but it's not A Link to the Past.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. But I also have to give her props to Madura. Was it Majora's Mask?
Yeah.
I love that game. I thought it was underrated. I know some people didn't like it, but I thought it was. Nintendo did something I thought different with it, and it was, I thought it was great. Man, I really wish they would do a complete remake. Now that game I would replay if they did a full HD.
Wow, they did Did you play it on the 3DS? They did. It's a.
Oh yeah. But I'm talking about with modern graphics.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, people have been. How many videos are online of like the Unreal Engine 16 version of?
Oh, dude, it looks amazing.
It does. It does.
And I don't want to deviate our thing, but we have to talk about that. It's just when fans make games that what potential Nintendo system IPs can be, it kind of makes me like angry, because it's like, Nintendo, why don't you? But we know that their target market's different, but it just angers me as a consumer. But let's not dwell on.
No, you have to say what's your number one. I'm curious to hear your number one.
All right, my number one. Now I'll do the honorable mention, because
I love how you have honorable mentions for each one.
Yeah, because they were pretty much tied. Because this one happens to be. You'll probably, once I talk about the honorable mention, you'll know exactly what number one is EverQuest. EverQuest introduced me to MMOs. It's so tough for me not to make it number one, but it was a type of game that was extremely new at the time. Well, there was technically Ultima Online, but new to me. But MMOs were still very, very sparse, very niche. It was not mainstream. EverQuest literally I remember, because my friend Zam, I asked him, hey man, I have a coworker. I used to work part time at Best Buy, and he worked full time. I forgot the guy's name. I think it was Carlos or whatever. He keeps talking about this game EverQuest, man. I looked up online. It looks interesting. I was just new to PC gaming, and Zam goes, yeah, I played it. It was garbage, dude. Literally, I killed rats for 5 levels and I stopped. Okay, all right. I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't. But I said, fuck it. The guy keeps, there's an F-bomb again. The guy keeps talking about it. So I'm like, let me give it a try. And it threw you into this world with literally nothing. My Necro, I made a gnome Necro, evil undead. It gave me this letter saying, go see your guild master, something like that. That's it. I'm like, what the hell is this guy? I went, and I knew it was in the city, so I kept going to the city, and the default settings were so dark for the gamma, I kept dying in a river. God, this thing effing sucks. So I told the guy, I go, dude, I can't see shit. So he go, oh, dude, your gamma's where I looked it up online. I changed it. Like, oh, finally I can see. Well, anyways, I got hooked. I told Sam, here, come on, give it another chance. We'll play together. And then that was it. We both got hooked. We played that thing for at least a couple years. But it's not my number one.
No, I know what your number one is.
My number one is World of Warcraft. It took everything that was EverQuest, improved it substantially, put Blizzard's amazing touches on it, and I was blown away. The difference between EverQuest was brand new, so there's a lot of things, but it was the gateway to MMOs, which I love today. Still my top games. MMOs, the best for your value, for bang for your buck, hands down. There's no comparison. World of Warcraft I played, I think, about 16 years before I kind of quit, but that game, well, not completely 16 years, off and on for some parts of it. I took a break during the Catechism expansion, but came back with the Pandora.
I remember
then
that.
Pandora, the pandas when they came. So, anyways, that game just it was amazing. I met a lot of people. Still even talk to some of them to today. Just such a great game. Love it. And I still have a subscription for it when we start playing again. I'm gonna start playing it because I hear they did some great improvements, and a new expansion's about to come out. Yeah, no other game has ever kept me playing for 16 years. Name a game, except for maybe your number one, that you say you keep playing once. But most people cannot say, I played a game for 16 years and still love it. Yeah, but like everything, things, your time changes, your lifestyle changes, and everything gets old after a while. But yeah, World of Warcraft, hands down, my number one. I don't think anything is going to take it. Unless another MMO, but even then, it's still going to be just
it'll never. No, it won't.
Same.
Yeah, it'll never be. It'll nothing.
World of Warcraft, a great game, and look at the numbers. When they say a huge percentage of the population's played it too, it's massive success, a massive game, and it's I love it, dude. Hands down, my number one.
Yeah, I remember the very first trailer to WoW.
Yeah, me too.
It's so classic, man. So classic. I miss that Blizzard. It's kind of sad now.
It's gone, dude. It's gone now.
It's sad. That's a classic. I mean, I played that too for quite a while, and that's
yeah.
We had a blast during Pandaria.
Yes, we did.
There, like Mists of Pandaria. Like,
Yeah, that was awesome. That's
that
when I
was-
came back. So I did take a 2-year break, but yeah.
No, those are
Yeah, 2-year break.
some memories, man. Some memories. No, I mean, it's a classic. I don't have anything to say on that. Dragon Quest X, it's sort of like, when I talk about that, it's like everything that like you just said, but in the world of Dragon Quest, so all the silliness and stuff like that. So like, for everybody listening, like, you know, it's wild to me that like there's a Dragon Quest game that's out there, right? That has 6. It's V7, yeah. So 6 expansions. That's insanity, right? And like, people keep asking me like, oh, you know, is like, do you think Dragon Quest X will ever come out and whatever? And I'm like, guys, do you have any idea how much translation work would
need
be
to be
required to do this? Because it's Dragon Quest, right? So each expansion, each whatever, is like gajillions of hours of dialogue and everything. But yeah, man, WoW was a great game. WoW, it's not was a great game. WoW is a great
Still
game.
a great game.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had some bad expansions, but
but that's
overall
normal.
it's still a
Yeah, that's normal. And it's sort of like, you know, you get to the point where you said it, 16 years, right? Like, what do you do? Like, you have to think of it like as a new player who's never experienced WoW before. It's hard, man, because it's like overwhelming. I remember me when I wanted to go back and just have some fun, and I did, but holy crap, did it take me a while to get my bearings, because you've got 14 expansions or whatever it is, like maybe that's exaggerating, but I'm just saying, like, you've got so many different expansions and stuff, so many different portals to go places, and I'm just sort of sitting there going, I don't remember how to do anything anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's funny because EverQuest 2 came out, I think, either same time as World of Warcraft, and I tried that. I did love the voice acting. I did love how like a dark elf could be a druid. Now that was awesome, but it was a lot of loading. It wasn't seamless world, so it was kind of behind at the time and ahead at the time. Voice acting was extremely limited back then, so to have a full story voice, it was amazing. But like, you'd have to click on stuff and click on that. It wasn't WoW. And but EverQuest 2 still probably was worth the time. I just kind of wish I kind of stuck with it a little bit more, but yeah, it was just not, to me, it wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And that's when Blizzard was in prime too. But yeah, great list. I kind of hope people comment and put theirs, because I would love to hear what you think about ours and theirs.
Yeah.
But honorable mentions, let me give you some
I got tons.
need to be mentioned. Contra for Super NES. No, sorry, Super NES. NES. That was such a great game, dude. I played so many hours of Contra. To this day, I still say Castlevania 3 is the best Castlevania. I loved that game.
Oh, dude.
When Alucard was in there, that's where he was introduced. The son of Dracula.
Trio. For me, I consider there's 3 Castlevania games that, dude. So, Castlevania 3, Castlevania Rondo of Blood, and Castlevania Symphony of the Night. To me, that is its own trilogy. Like, that's it.
Yes.
That is a trilogy. And just play those games. Call us in the morning and let us know what you think. Because seriously, I struggle with those 3 games to pick the one. Because they're just so friggin' good.
Yes.
I've got Rondo of Blood in that corner. I've got Symphony of the Night right above me. And I have Castlevania 3 on the side.
You Castlevania 3, I love it. And this, I hope some people either get, I don't promote like emulating or anything, but that, yeah, if you guys get a chance, I mean, obviously it's an 8-bit, but 8-bit games are huge right now, so people might actually enjoy it even to today. It's such a great game. Super Mario World, I gotta admit, that one too blew me away at the time. I loved that game. It was so much fun. And what else? It's kind of hard. There's so many.
Well, I've got a couple, dude. I've got a couple that I'm not ending this podcast until I mention them.
Oh, yeah. Let me think, because there's a lot of PC games I loved. Jesus, I love board games, but what is a really good? Man, that's tough. I have to think of a next one. Why don't you do yours while I'm thinking?
Okay.
There's just so many games. It's just hard to.
Okay.
choose.
Well, on PC, because I haven't really talked much about PC. There's one PC game from back in the day that, dude, I loved. I played the living hell out of this. So PC gaming way back really was heavy into like adventure games and stuff like that, like King's Quest, Police Quest, and or whatever it was called back then.
man.
Like all those quest games. But there was one game I think it was in the probably like early to mid 90s, somewhere in there, based on my favorite movie franchise of all time. Well, the first three, and let's just leave it at that. They stopped making Indiana Jones films after Last Crusade. And that is Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. That was a brilliant game. And if you've never tried that, I think it's on GOG that you could go and check it out. I think they have like a Windows 10 or 11 sort of like overlay to it to allow it to run there. That is such a classic adventure game. I swear to you, I played that so much. In my opinion, that is Indiana Jones 4. And I've said that for years and years and years and years and years because it is so on point, like with the character and the way he acts and everything was really, really... Did you ever play that?
Which one?
Fate of Atlantis?
Hold on. So, no, I didn't, unfortunately. Is it good?
Because you're a console boy. That's why. That's back then you probably were.
Someone was calling, so it's getting sidetracked. I hope the recording didn't hear it.
No. Don't worry. We don't hear anything. So yeah. So for me, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. If I can say a few others,
Interesting that you mentioned that one. Wasn't expecting that. Must be good.
It's great. There's the Fire Emblem games. Those are incredible, man. Like I loved that series back in the day. I also really loved, I don't know what you call it. It's almost like an interactive comic, which was Snatcher on the Sega CD, and a game that I played for so long, same type of genre, was called Rise of the Dragon, which was same sort of thing. It was like this cyberpunk digital comic sort of thing where you were interacting, like you had a little cursor and you can move it around and click on it, like an adventure game. Both of them, Snatcher and Rise of the Dragon, classic games. Metal Gear Solid, another one on PlayStation 1 that could make my top 5 if you ask me tomorrow easily. I loved it. I loved that game. That year, man, 1998, we got freaking Ocarina of Time, Metal Gear Solid, and Resident Evil 2. And everybody says they love Resident Evil 2. I love Resident Evil 2. But Resident Evil 1, the OG, remains one. That's on my list too. That's one of my favorite games ever. And I'll stop talking with 2 others. Clock Tower on the SNES.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I had never seen an adult themed or a mature themed game on a console. That was like my introduction to mature gaming on the SNES of all things. And to this day, the sound effects of that game creep me out because I think they trigger like my younger brain. I'm just like, oh my Lord. And I'll end off with just one last little shout out, which is BioShock. When BioShock hit,
BioShock,
dude,
yes.
The story of that, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but would you kindly, was awesome. And that's all I'm going to say. I did not see that coming anywhere, the end of that game. And I loved it. And that's it. That's enough talking for me.
I was thinking of BioShock. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't mention the Fallout series. That's a really good one too, right?
Hey, just started the series on Amazon.
Oh yeah, I hear it's really good, even though people are upset about how it messes up New Vegas's canon. But
Oh my lord, people are insane.
They've officially, yeah, they're insane. They've officially announced that it doesn't, but who knows? There's contradicting so if all you purists out there might be a little upset, but I hear the game's really, really good.
Well, dude, Fallout is good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, that is a good series. That's another one on PC that I played ages and ages ago. Like, when did that even come out? It's been a while. When did the OG Fallout release? Let's see. 1997, man.
Yep.
Wow. 1997. Look at
1997. See, Fallout, and now you remember Fallout 1 is way different from the other one. This overhead kind of.
Yeah, it's an isometric. It's an isometric.
You guys could play it. Yeah, isometric. You guys could play it. Actually, it's a real big deal right now for Fallout because of the TV show. Like Fallout 4
hey,
the next generation update. By the way,
we should hold on a second. I think that deal is still out. Hold on a second.
Yeah, it is.
Fallout.
Fallout's. I've actually been playing Fallout 76. I really like it. I have to focus more on it, but there's so many other games right now.
Hold on. All right, ladies and gent, if you go to Fanatical, okay, I already have them, but if you go to Fanatical, yeah, it's still on sale. Wow. It's like $23. The bundle ends in 17 days, okay? And it includes Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition, Fallout 76, Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition, Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition, and then the Fallout Classics Collection, which includes Fallout, what is it, 1, 2, no, it's, what is it? It was Tactics was in there too. I forget the names of the two classics, but absolutely worth it. Like, absolutely worth it. 76, so talk to me a little bit about 76, because, like, all I heard was that it got destroyed in the media.
It had a bad launch, or a very bare minimum launch, because the whole idea was like a multiplayer type of survival game, MMO kind of theme. I think they want to go, which is still something I wish they would do. Basically, where they throw you out there was really no story, which Fallout's known for story, right?
Yeah.
They throw you out there, you have to survive. The core I started playing it now late last year, so my experience is way different from what you would have vanilla. Vanilla, there wasn't much, and then over time they started adding like quests or more stories, etc. So basically, you go out there, you survive. It's not that many people per server. It's not like a MMO in sense of the massive. It's what they call MMO light, I guess, is what the trend is named now. So you go there, you have people, you go around, you kill, you quest, they send you on stuff. There's story. So yeah, it's a Fallout. You build your base. You could make an elaborate base. So it's a survival kind of like crafting, like there's a lot of crafting in it. So it's kind of like that kind of a game. So a lot of people at the time said, well, that's not Fallout. But it's actually doing extremely well now, and it has a lot of players. And if you have Xbox Game Pass, PC, you definitely get it included, and probably for console, for including your service. But Amazon Prime members get Fallout 76 for free right now. So if you look at your
dude, how's the payment structure? Like, what is it? That's what. No,
it's confused. Once you pay for it, it's it. There's no. You could buy DLC, and there's like this little pass thing you could do to give you more perks in game, but it's not like a subscription based.
Okay, all right, interesting. Because like,
just buy the game or get it for free.
Well, guys, I'm telling you right now, go buy that package for 23 American dollars. I think it's like 33 Canadian, something like that. That is a steal. Like, that's an absolute steal. These games are phenomenal. I understand. Yes, you have to have actually, God, they're old. You don't even need a supercomputer or anything like that. Like, yeah, totally worth it. Cool. All right. Well, we're gonna end this.
Before we do, I finally thought of it. Has to be Hearthstone. That introduced me into the digital card game genre. So yeah, Hearthstone. I've been playing that. 2006. Oh yeah, whatever Gnomes versus Goblins came out, whatever that expansion. So pretty almost from the beginning. So yeah, Hearthstone. I got to give a mention to that because it too has introduced me into a whole plethora of games that I probably would have never have played. So yeah, Hearthstone's definitely up there.
Cool.
Well. And there's so many other games I could.
Well, dude, of course, 100%. I want to check out what happens here. I want to end our podcast a little early. I want to see if we get more interactions. Steven had a really good idea the other day of breaking up the podcast into like
people don't like
categories. Well, it's not so much the like. I think it's people just don't have the time.
That's
So I want to see what happens if we wrap up a little early. And besides, we kept on schedule this time, which was good. We kept to our thing. So listen, guys, let us know, what are your top 5, top 10, top 20, top 100 games? And I like that idea. I really like that idea of like different genres, looking at different genres. That could be really fun, especially with, when you factor in PC with all the different consoles and stuff. We could have some fun with that. It could be interesting.
Yep. All right, guys.
Okay, everyone.
Please.
See you next week.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks.